The Galactic Council chamber fell silent as Ambassador ZYX Thor of the Valerian Empire made his announcement. His crystalline form shimmered with satisfaction as he spoke through his translation matrix. The peace treaty is simple, ZYX Thor declared, his voice echoing through the vast chamber. A union between our species. My daughter, Deborah, raised among humans to understand their primitive ways, will marry a human representative. This will bind our worlds together and prevent further conflict. The human delegation sat quietly in the corner, seemingly small and insignificant among the towering alien dignitaries. Kenneth Hayes, a simple agricultural engineer from Earth, had been chosen for reasons he still didn't fully understand. The council viewed humans as weak, useful only for their breeding potential and their curious ability to adapt. A marriage would subjugate Earth under Valerian protection, ending the border disputes that had threatened to escalate into war. Deborah stood beside her father, her hybrid features a blend of Valerian crystal and human flesh. She had been created in a laboratory designed to bridge two species. Her eyes held a coldness that matched her father's ambition. She had spent 20 years on Earth, studying humanity, reporting their weaknesses. This marriage was her final mission. The ceremony took place 3 weeks later aboard the Nexus station. Thousands of species attended, watching as the human knelt before the Valerian princess. Kenneth wore a simple Earth suit, looking entirely out of place among the elaborate alien dignitaries. Deborah towered over him in her ceremonial armor, a warrior princess claiming her prize. "Do you accept this union?" the officiator asked Kenneth, its multiple heads swaying in unison. "I do," Kenneth replied softly. The council celebrated. Earth was now bound to the Valerian Empire. Humans would provide agricultural support, colonization labor, and genetic diversity. In return, they would receive protection. It was subjugation dressed as peace. The backfire began 3 months later. Deborah had moved to Kenneth's farm on Earth's countryside, expecting a primitive existence. Instead, she discovered something the council's intelligence had completely missed. Kenneth wasn't just an agricultural engineer. He was a terraforming specialist who had worked on Mars, Europa, and Titan. His simple farm was a testing ground for techniques that could transform dead worlds into paradises. "How is this possible?" Deborah asked one evening, watching Kenneth adjust soil composition with casual expertise. "Our analysis said humans lacked advanced terraforming technology." Kenneth smiled, his hands working the earth. "You analyzed our governments and our militaries. You never looked at our farmers, our engineers, our everyday people. That was your first mistake." Deborah felt something unfamiliar, concern. "What do you mean?" "The council thinks humans are weak because we don't have massive warships or crystal armor," Kenneth explained, standing up and brushing dirt from his hands. "But we've survived ice ages, plagues, world wars, and near-extinction events. We've turned deserts into forests and barren rocks into homes. We don't conquer planets, Deborah. We make them love us." The second revelation came when ZYX Thor visited to check on his daughter's progress. He arrived with an escort of Valerian warships, intending to establish the first Valerian outpost on Earth. Kenneth invited him to dinner. "Your farm is adequate," ZYX Thor said dismissively, his crystalline form refracting the candlelight. "But Earth will require proper development. We will begin mining operations in the southern continent next month." "You'll find that difficult," Kenneth replied calmly, pouring wine. "Difficult? We have molecular disintegrators that can—" "I'm sure you do," Kenneth interrupted gently. "But you've already lost." ZYX Thor's form flashed with anger. "Lost? Human, you forget your place." Kenneth set down his glass. 3 months ago, when Deborah arrived, she brought Valerian technology with her. Nothing classified, just everyday items. Your tablets, your communicators, your genetic scanners. He smiled. "Humanity's greatest strength isn't our technology, Ambassador. It's our ability to learn, adapt, and reverse engineer anything we encounter." Deborah's eyes widened. "The packages I sent home were intercepted and studied," Kenneth confirmed. "Right now, every major Earth nation has working prototypes of Valerian shield technology. We've already improved upon your power distribution systems. They were terribly inefficient, by the way." ZYX Thor stood abruptly. "This is a declaration of war." "No," Kenneth said firmly. "This is a declaration of partnership. True partnership, not subjugation. You wanted to marry into humanity for peace, Ambassador. But you didn't understand what that meant. When you join with humans, we don't become yours. You become part of us. The ambassador reached for his communication device, but found it dead. Kenneth had anticipated this. Your fleet received new coordinates an hour ago, Kenneth continued. Fake orders that sent them to the outer system. By the time they return, this conversation will be broadcast to the entire Galactic Council. Every species will know that humanity can replicate Valerian technology. Your monopoly on advanced shielding is over. You planned this from the beginning. Kenneth shook his head. No, I genuinely came to marry for peace. But I'm a human, Ambassador. When you put us in a corner, when you try to make us weak, we adapt. We overcome. It's what we've always done. Deborah looked at her husband with new eyes. Why tell us now? Why not just take the advantage? Because peace shouldn't be based on subjugation, Kenneth answered, his voice gentle. It should be based on mutual respect. Your father wanted to control Earth by marrying you to a human. Instead, you're going to help us teach the Council what humanity really is. HFY Thor's form dimmed, his anger fading into something like resignation. The Council will never accept. The Council will accept what it must, Kenneth interrupted. Because now we're family. And humans protect family. We'll share our agricultural technology, our terraforming techniques, our adaptive capabilities. But in return, we're equals. Partners, not subjects. The ambassador was silent for a long moment. Finally, his form brightened slightly, a Valerian gesture of acknowledgement. You are more dangerous than any warrior species we've encountered. We're farmers, Kenneth corrected with a smile. We just understand that the strongest plants are the ones that adapt to their environment. Humanity has been adapting for millions of years. You tried to plant us in your garden, Ambassador, but we've already started changing the soil. Deborah reached across the table and took Kenneth's hand. For the first time since the wedding, her touch was genuine. What happens now? Kenneth squeezed her hand. Now, we build something better together. That's what marriage means, Deborah. Not conquest. Partnership. The Galactic Council would spend the next decade learning what the Valerians discovered that night. Humans weren't weak. They were patient. And when you gave them time, access, and motivation, they could reshape the galaxy itself. The peace treaty that was meant to subjugate Earth instead became the foundation for humanity's rise among the stars. And it all began because one ambitious alien empire made a critical mistake. They underestimated a farmer named Kenneth and thought marriage was just another form of conquest. They learned too late that when you marry humanity, you don't gain subjects. You gain something far more powerful. You gain humans who now have a reason to show you what they're really capable of. And that changes everything.